I'm not going to make this a gimmick. That's the thing. I'm not trying to make this a gimmick.
I know.
Thank you for joining us here on Tac City Unfiltered, guys. This is episode 3. I am joined with Sonny here today. We don't have a guest today. We are talking about all kinds of things on this podcast. If you guys haven't seen one of our episodes before, this is your trigger warning. This is your warning that says we might offend you here. Definitely stay tuned. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff in today's episode. We have SHOT Show on the agenda because we didn't talk about it when we had Matt on because he didn't attend, so we didn't want to kind of bore him with that.
For the non-shooters out there, SHOT Show is like the biggest gun show probably maybe in the world.
Yeah.
Gathering.
Well, it's that one and then the Germany one. I think
I'm not sure which one's bigger.
I think the Germany one is actually
bigger based on attendees,
I think
vendors,
so.
or money.
I think vendors and size of the scale. I'm not.
Maybe.
Don't
I don't know either.
I don't
but
know.
It's one of the biggest.
Yeah.
It's in the argument.
But we have that on the agenda. We have Oregon Winter Expo because you just got back from traveling up there and saw Terry and all the guys out there. And I know you had some conversations with some of our fans out there. I know we're gonna have Airsoft Ministry ASM Caver again. He's coming down.
He's stalking me. By the way.
Yeah, he's stalking me too. And so if you're watching, James, we got your number.
So I'm going to take a road trip up there soon because he's got a tournament coming up. He sent me the rules and he wants me to look them over.
And go check it out and everything.
We'll go up there. I'm going to probably do a ministry / CQB City visit.
Kind of visit. And then we have, where we're going to get into a couple things.
Those are airsoft fields, by the way, for the non-airsoft guys.
We've got a couple things we're going into as well, but one of the things we're talking about is ego and social media and stuff like that, and the players of airsoft. The problems we have with airsoft and ego that kind of comes into play. And then me and Sonny had this discussion, and we're still trying to figure it out. So we're going to leave it up to you guys a little bit after we talk about it. But techs in airsoft and how we find the right tech and how you kind of we're looking for people that are kind of critical thinkers, and I
think that tech in any industry or mechanic is probably the same kind of search.
Yeah, so it's not just to rely on airsoft, but trying to find those people that are mechanically inclined and stuff like that. But as we get into the show, this is your guys' warning. So now we're gonna get into that conversation here and
send us good comments, bad comments, does not matter.
Yeah, definitely
send us
subscribe
something.
If you guys haven't subscribed yet. I'm Producer Derek, at Producer Derek on all the stuff, and you can follow at Tac City on all the social medias as well.
Yep.
But SHOT Show. So that was 3 weeks ago now for us that we got back from it. That's in Vegas every year. This is my second time attending SHOT Show. I love it. I'm a convention person, so
and then now you get guns. Oh my god.
Yeah. So the thing you guys go through, and you guys maybe get an hour, 2 hours of walking around. You guys are done. I stayed till the very end. I walked almost every row. I actually was able to, because you guys left early, and I said, all right, cool, I'm on my own.
Which rows did I not go?
Yeah, I'm booking it through everything and checking out everything.
And there's stuff you still missed.
There's plenty of stuff I missed. And that's me kind of just going and kind of scanning through everything, and I love it. And the thing I love about any conventions, because I did it with pet conventions, I do it with comic book conventions, I do it with a lot of stuff.
I've gone to the OC Pet Fair.
The OC Pet Expo, yeah.
Oh my god, that was a madhouse. That's
coming up actually in the spring here in April.
I'll probably hit it.
I hit it all the time because it's one of the biggest adoption things out there.
Really?
And so we're actually in we're looking for another husky at the moment right now, and so.
I was bummed they didn't have Rottweilers there, but okay.
Yeah, they're kind of a little finicky on some of the breeds. Yeah, and so, but they do have some really cool breeds, and the breed ambassadors at the show are really cool. I've done a couple different filming agenda things with Expo, so I'm very familiar with them because it's right in my backyard. But like I was saying, expos are fun.
Expos.
I get to meet people that I would never meet, and I'm not talking about the celebrities. I'm talking about the booth people who are there passionate about the product, and I stop and talk to people who are kind of look lonely because no one's really giving them time of day on their product.
What's their story?
That's exactly it. I want to listen. I want to hear, because I'm one guy that
just that gem and the diamond in the rough.
Yeah, and so I love hearing. And the thing is most of these people, whether it be the gun industry, the nerd industry, the comic books, or dog industry, they're passionate about what they're doing. And that's what I love.
So why are you passionate about that? Tell us why.
Yeah, why did you think this holster is better than that holster? Because oh my god, the amount of holsters you see at SHOT Show. But again, I hear it and I understand where their problem came in, and I can appreciate that because I have the same situations that happen in my everyday life, and I get passionate about this and that. But
one of these days, I might even venture, believe it or not, to maybe one of those anime conventions. I'm sorry, Comic-Con.
Okay, this weekend is Long Beach Comic-Con. It's a very subtle, small thing. It's not a big convention.
As far as those types of conventions, I have nothing to compare it to.
But it's honestly, I tell everybody who hasn't gone, they need to go at least once in their life to some kind of fandom convention. Because I took my dad to Star Wars Celebration 2 years ago now. We got some passes for that. He went on Friday. I went Saturday, Sunday. I went every single day. It's Star Wars. You guys know it. You can see by some of the stuff I have up on the wall. But he walked out of there dizzy and with a migraine because he was on a swivel the whole time. And
a lot going on. A lot of visual.
He always takes his camera wherever he goes. I've got him into photography and all the stuff. So I've got him a couple nice cameras that he plays with, and we bought him for like Christmas and Father's Day and stuff like that. So he does tournament fishing. So that's where he learns his photography is going there. But he takes his camera wherever he goes. So like all the people in their cosplay and all, he couldn't believe it. Yeah. I can only express the amount of like effort that people put into some of these costumes, because me and my girlfriend both put effort into like some of the stuff. She does more cosplay than I do.
You can show it without a costume, right?
You can. Okay. And so I usually just show up in a fandom t-shirt of some sort. It's usually Star Wars because that's my biggest fandom. But it is one of those things where if you've never experienced it, it's awesome.
That's what I'm saying. I'm open to it, and that's something I'm curious. Believe it or not, I'm a curious person, and even though, you know, I'm a fan of Star Wars, probably not to that level, right? I mean, there's levels of everything.
You like Deadpool?
Walking Dead. Yeah. I know they show up to those things, right?
And so there's some.
Just I'm a people person on the out. I mean, how do I put this? I'm not a people person as like an extrovert, so to speak. But I like people watching and observing.
We got our Andy Warhol quote that hits it. The world fascinates you.
Yes. But that doesn't mean I want to be a part of it.
Yeah. And so, right? I mean...
Like I want to enjoy the show.
Yeah. And it is one of those things, but I wanted to get into with SHOT Show and some of the people, because we do have meetings, we do have the business side of things that go into it. Yeah. But like, what are some of the things that like really that you want to go see? Because I know you saw some car stuff, because you've been looking at your Toyota and everything and looking at some stuff that like had some light racks and all kinds of stuff like that. But what was some of the stuff that really kind of stood out for you, or some of the conversations you might have had with some people? I know the international stuff. You talked to a couple people about international things.
I'm stumbling across. This happens kind of every year, but I kind of stumble across people that kind of like, hey, you from Tac City? Those kind of conversations, and I like that, because I want to know in a lot of cases how and why they heard of us.
Yeah.
I'm curious in that way. Like, how'd you stumble across us?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that was a situation
that happened. Like we're Coca-Cola or something.
Yeah.
Like it's in your face.
You have to kind of search. Yeah.
And so, what avenue did you take?
We had
what's working for us?
Last year, Rad from Utah introduced himself, and he goes, "Hey, you're producer Derek," and he go, "Wait, what? This is really weird." It was really cool that we're reaching somebody out there, and they're listening to some of the bullshit we have to talk about.
It's a niche industry.
It is, yeah,
right? But it's still I don't know. But you know, as far as SHOT Show, I would say the vast majority of it is basically the same, just repackaged and just a different year. Every now and then you'll stumble across something. To be honest with you, this year, I didn't. As far as the airsoft industry, nothing too groundbreaking.
Yeah.
You know, I would say all the vendors, for the most part, or most of them, they're showcasing stuff that's coming, that's not out. A lot of stuff that's just coming out, but a lot of times it's on the horizon.
Yeah, it's the same gearbox, different body. I mean, that's
and same thing in the gun world too, right?
And that's one of the cool things I do love about SHOT Show is that the big gun companies bring out all their big guns. Like,
one thing I overlook almost every year, and every now and then I remember, and I try to catch a couple. And I realized this when I was looking at YouTube, some of the reviews. Knives.
So I always hit up SOG and I always hit up Gerber because I'm looking at the multi-tools.
Yes, so that was I was like, damn it, I should have, because I saw I don't know who it was. I guess they're known for knives, and they're doing a review on the Gerber stuff coming out. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Oh, and I gotta get one of those.
Yeah, there were some new ones that I saw that I got my hands on. Yeah. I got my hands on them, and I was like, these are cool. And so
how many tools do I need?
That's the thing that, even when we went to the 511 booth and we were looking at those backpacks. I went home going, shoot, these might be the backpacks that because the hunt for the perfect backpack for me is impossible.
You know, I'm sure you got plenty of backpacks.
Yeah.
I don't carry half the equipment that you carry.
Yeah.
I think I have just in backpacks, probably like 10.
Yeah. I cannot find a perfect bag.
And I'm always looking for another one.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know why. Even before SHOT Show, I was on a hunt for 2 weeks trying to find the one that would travel with me easily, breathe properly. I wanted all these things. I found one. I didn't like it when I was walking around the event with it. I ended up returning it when I got back because I was just like, this is not what I wanted.
And every year, like the SHOT Show, like 1 year I had my big multicam, what do you call it, the Tobago pack from Voodoo Tactical.
Yeah.
So I'm going to load that puppy. I'm like, the problem is the big pack, you load it up.
And that's what I stayed away
so
from.
I get to the hotel, like, oh crap.
Yeah.
And then what happens is there's you kind of a thinning out process. So sometimes it makes it to the hotel, but doesn't make it out of the hotel.
Yeah.
And then it gets home, and then it doesn't make it to the office, and then the office, and it goes, and then from one part of the office it goes. I mean,
yeah.
You start really. Was that just an emotional thing, or I wasn't sure if I was just gonna check it out? Like there really isn't anything in that catalog that I want.
Yeah.
Because you could just. Oh my God! Do I need a catalog for this? Can I just check it online?
Yeah, there's 4 catalogs that actually came home with me. There was Helicon Techs because their products are amazing. I love their stuff. Their new one that they released this year in the gray, I'm gonna be buying soon. Elite Force because it always they do very good in depth on their information. UTG because we've been looking at all their stuff.
The problem with Elite Force is that they don't put everything in the catalog that's coming out. It drives me nuts.
Even their website's like that, and it bugs the crap out of me that I can't get all the information I need.
So they verbally tell me on the phone or email like, okay, I'm not gonna remember all that.
And you forget it, and then you're like, and then you're like, okay, and then
I hate that.
It was a paint company.
Paint.
They do the e-bike painting. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting their name. But they do all the Cerakoting because I was talking to the guys, took some photos because they had a booth, and I grabbed one of their pamphlets. And
they had their own booth.
They had their own booth, and oh my God, their paint jobs are amazing, and they're around $300 to $400 for some of their work. And I go, honestly, for the quality that you get, that's cheap.
And then, the process, I mean,
it's 6 to 8 weeks turnaround, and I'm okay. If I'm gonna send my AR to get done,
you have to send it disassembled, right?
Yeah, and so I would totally send that in, but it's a work of art. That's the cool part. And then I get to run around with a Boba Fett bounty hunter looking AR that's
Boba Fett
badass, yeah. And so it looks so cool. And then I would make that investment because honestly, like my dad's always said it, like you invest in a gun, it'll never lose its value, and which is true. They never lose their value, and I'm talking real airsoft. They lose their value as soon as you take them off the shelf.
There's no point in airsoft guns.
But like I have like my dad's original shotgun that he bought from Kmart for $60. I mean, it didn't go up a crazy value, but like honestly, it's still a $200 value item now. And so we're not going to sell it. It's still a great H&R Topper shotgun, single break action shotgun that we love. We shoot all the time, but it's one of those things that just sits.
I was telling the guys, what was it? It was a SHOT Show. It may have been in Portland. We got on the subject of real guns, and then I was telling them that my dad, he's older now, and he's seems to go in this period of re-gifting guns.
Yep.
So I'm getting all these guns like birthday, Christmas. Like he's clearing out his guns.
Yeah.
So he brought. So shoot, I can't remember if it was a birthday or Christmas. He gave me a 44 Red Hawk, 44 Magnum.
Yeah.
And then
that's a Ruger revolver, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
44 Magnum. I think it was an 8-inch. I think 8-inch, but it's long barrel. And then he got me. This is kind of unique because when I mentioned this, people are like, what? They made those? A Smith & Wesson pump shotgun. Smith & Wesson, right? They're not known for shotguns.
No, I'm trying to think.
So I did some research on that, and there's some. They only made them for like a year or two.
Yeah.
Out of Japan.
Okay.
and it was back in the 80s. I can't remember what years. And they hold their value pretty good because they worked great. They for some reason they didn't feel that they wanted to keep making them.
Yeah.
But they make the Japanese, and just about any company makes quality products and known for quality, right? And he gave that to me, and it's as smooth as can be. He's like, man, this is a nice shotgun.
Yeah. It's so.
I think it's valued right now like probably about $900.
My mom and dad both bought us when I think I turned 21. I think they bought us for the holidays. Me and my brother, 22 long rifles. The Marlin 795s, and awesome, great gun. And my brother kept his stock. I tactical mine out, kind of thing. Yeah. And then when my brother turned 18, he could get his first long rifle. I went to a local gun field time. They're no longer around. They used to be down in Beach Boulevard down in Westminster. But I got him his H&R Topper break action shotgun because he's always been a trap shooter. He's always loved that stuff. So I bought him his first shotgun, and because that was like I was working a solid job at the time and I could afford it. I'm like, hey. And then the funny part is I bought him that one, and then the same day they had a 1928, 1929 Sears and Roebuck Ranger break action shotgun that was on consignment there. And I go, it had the beautiful engraving and Ranger and everything.
That's so funny.
I'm like, I want that. And then I'm like, so I ended up buying that for myself as well. But then we went to the Turner's event here at Raji's shooting range. And he ended up trying out the Beretta. I think it's an A400 or something like that model. It's like a $1,500 shotgun. And 6 months later, he's at Bass Pro Shop getting a credit card to buy it because it was like the cleanest, smoothest shooting shotgun he played with. So he ended up buying that, and that's like his pride and joy shotgun that he loved. And I hate it because it's a semi-automatic and it recoil management and everything. And you shoot traps with it. He can shoot 500, 600 shots all day. By the time with my 12 gauge, I'm done after 20 shots. I'm like, I'm good. I don't want to shoot trap anymore. And he'll just keep going all day. So we ended up buying launchers so I don't have to sit there and keep chucking stuff. I'm like, you just launch yourself. I'm going over here and riding motorcycles or something. But yeah, like it's always been a thing for the family. And then even me and my dad went in on an AR rifle and we put it in his name. And he goes, well, didn't you want it in your name? I'm like, well, when you die, I'm just getting it. Like, it's just going to transfer over anyway. He's like, it's kind of dark, but I'm like, yeah, but it's the truth.
Yeah, I think that's what my dad was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. The value will stay there no matter what. And I mean, before it was airsoft, I was shooting since I was 5. It was. I remember going out in somewhere in the back of Big Bear Hill, or mountain out there, somewhere in a range, and I remember a family friend shooting a shotgun for the first time. The kick was so nasty on that 12 gauge, it just knocked him and bloody nose. He was crying the rest of the day. It was
always somebody that had
so
that.
It was always had that, like, okay, you're going to respect these things. Like,
yeah,
and like,
it's better that if you've never shot a rifle or any gun for that matter, to give it more respect than maybe it deserves.
Yeah.
Just in case you want to overshoot, meaning if you're going to shoot a shotgun for the first time, whoever's with you needs to tell you that thing's going to kick really hard. I mean, it may hurt.
Yeah.
But you need to do this to lessen it. And if it doesn't hurt as bad as you thought, then great.
Yeah. So I'm usually, when I take people out for the first time who don't shoot.
Who cares about what you're hitting at that point? Just get a feel for it and then start worrying about like what you're hitting.
I put them on my 12 gauge single break action shotgun. That's 20-inch barrel on it. It's got a nasty kick to it. And I put them on like a slug or like a buckshot so that they know what that kick is like. And here's the safety thing is that it only has one shot. So as soon as they pull, if they drop the gun or it's not going to happen, or they get or whatever, it's one shot. And then I go, that's the worst it's going to get today. Like everything else is going to be a piece of cake. And
that's how I started out. My dad, shooting 44 Magnum. Oh my god! And then went to like a 9mm. It was like a BB gun.
Yeah, he's like, what? This is nothing. Yeah.
Or 22. Forget it.
Yeah.
But he made the point clear that still respect it, even though it's just a 22, right?
Yeah. That's, I think, my funnest time is shooting 22s because you could just plink away all day and the cost of ammo is cheaper.
I used to. So this is probably when I was about maybe 10. Go hunting. A friend of ours out here. There's what they call it, the Edison gates.
Okay.
Power. You know where the power lines are, like out in the mountains.
Yeah.
So there's yellow gates.
Okay.
That cordon off certain access points to that, so the
big
public
steel type of things.
public can't get through there, right? So a friend of ours had access to keys to the Edison gates.
Okay.
Right. Where you see those chains where they have like multiple locks on them,
and
right?
then you're able to get through.
And that was great for hunting because nobody else, all the game would go back to get undisturbed.
Yeah.
So we'd be driving around the fire breaks, and I would be on the back of the truck on top of the cab, a little 22 Ruger rifle, shooting quail and rabbits.
Yep.
And then next thing I started moving up to deer and boar hunting, and
that's the thing I haven't gotten into is actually hunting. And so I don't have a problem with eating animal. I just have that problem of like if I have to kill, like that's always been a thing. If you kill an animal,
is this the blood thing, or
I don't know. Because I've never experienced it. I can't really. Yeah. I don't knock it. I have nothing against it or anything like that. It's never been my thing to go out and kill the animals when I can just go to the grocery store and get.
I understand the convenience of it all.
Yeah, and so
so you know what it is? It's all about everything. So going to the store and buying a steak. Okay, that's one thing. And you can get the top of the line store bought steak, and it tastes great.
Yeah.
Right. But something about hunting it, right? All the work leading up to like tracking it, the time, the effort, the actually killing it, the dressing it, the cutting it. I mean, all the work, all the process before, during, after, taking it home, then cooking it, and then it just something about it. And not the fact that it's pure. There's no chemicals.
Yeah.
It's a combination between how much it tastes good, but everything that led up to that is so satisfying.
Yeah.
Not just to your taste buds.
No, to the whole process. Because
there's a lot of work. You earn it.
Yeah, you earn that, and I totally respect that.
There's a satisfaction earning it to that degree. Not knocking. I mean, I buy steaks all the time in the store.
Yeah.
But there's something about that, and you got people out there that are. Probably not to this podcast, but that there's people out there are against hunting or non-hunters, or I would say animal activists, right? And I say that with a grain of salt because I'm an animal activist. I respect animals.
The amount of efforts we both do in the animal world,
but people don't think that hunting or hunters are pro animals, or they're my argument to that is, do you think the native Indians were anti-animal?
Yeah.
No, they hunted left and right,
Yeah.
And you use everything you can on that animal for a purpose, which you should do, right? You should be doing it just for a head on the wall. You should be utilizing everything you can with the rest of the animal. But you know what? It was a thing to. I mean, again, think about all the work they had to do to hunt, stalk, whatever, haul it out, whatever. With no technology. And it was a sacred thing that they were taking,
Yeah, and so, it's the same.
Most hunters, not all, most hunters look at it that way too. But a lot of anti-hunting people or, quote-unquote animal activists don't think of hunters in that. They think of just wearing the orange vest, the trophy, just getting the horns, and so what?
Yeah.
Like this, there's no reverence to it.
You've got the whole, they'll make the argument, and then you go, well, what about the people like in Alaska, that are indigenous to the state that go hunting for the caribou or something like that, and then they use that's different. How is that different? Because the person in Pennsylvania who was putting a elk on their table for the winter because, hey mate, we might not be able to get out.
Because there's something about the fact that because it's another living animal and it feels. It feels, meaning feels pain. Mm-hmm. Not, we don't know if it feels emotional pain. I don't know. Yeah. But another argument for hunting. Okay, so if there wasn't, let's just magically click our fingers and say there wasn't any hunting. Do you know how animals actually die in the wilderness? From not, they either get hit by a car, they get eaten from as some guys say, from the asshole out. Right?
Yep.
Get torn to pieces in a miserable death.
There's that awful video of the hyena and the elephant.
It's not like a cartoon where they just grow old, they die in their sleep and peaceful, and that's it.
No.
It doesn't work that way.
No.
Now, as hunters, the people got to understand, the perfect kill is quick, clean kill.
Yeah.
So the animal doesn't suffer.
And it bothers hunters when it's not that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
They feel bad. They really feel bad.
Yeah.
Guys like it drags on them.
Yeah.
Because it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And then here's another thing. People have problems with, it's a weird, like in animals or wildlife, there's like a unwritten hierarchy of what's acceptable to kill and eat and what's not. Like most people have a problem with fishing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because fish aren't warm and cuddly, right? Something about that, right? I mean, some do. Some people have problems with that. Okay, that, at least you're being consistent.
Yeah.
Right? But, or another thing is like, can't eat bear because bears are like warm, cuddly teddy bears and Yogi Bear or whatever. Bears are the most dangerous, ferocious killing machines that are on Earth. Oh my God!
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's why you kill them. I'm just saying, and to be honest with you, most people don't hunt bears for the meat. I mean, some guys can do some amazing things with cooking bear, but my understanding is it's a harder
population control. There's a lot of things that go into it.
Here's another thing, right? Especially in the United States, with hunting, you can't just hunt. You need licenses, there's fees, there's certain seasons, there's tags, blah, blah, blah. All that money, ironically enough, goes into animal conservation. Yeah,
that's the...
And so that the right? I think it's the white-tailed deer. That the populations of white-tailed deer in the United States are at levels that has never been ever. And yet it's one of the most popular hunted animals because of the conservation that the hunters have made that animal thrive.
Yeah, and so we have that same situation when you go to big game hunting and like the lions and stuff like that. A lot of those times that the people pay to do that, that's helping an ecosystem that's in those environments that allow the people to have jobs, and they're not.
They actually have saved elephants, the population of elephants by doing that.
Yeah, and it's not again, it's a humane situation because this animal's old, it's taking away from the rest of the herd or whatever in that kind of situation, and it's one of those and it's not cheap. It's not, and so yes, and I think
they have to haul. They have to use everything on it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the.
They donate the meat to the villages, right?
And that's one of the things that it becomes like the Instagram. Look at this one picture, but you're not seeing that 1,000 words that are told in that picture.
It's you've seen these, right? Like I think the first one started with. I think it was Spielberg in front of like the
T-Rex.
The T-Rex.
Yeah.
And they're like look what he's hunting T-Rex, right? Like my God, that's it's an endangered species and you're killing the last one or a unicorn. And so it's gotta like people don't. I don't. Yeah.
No, you say that, and the funny part, we're walking through the San Diego Zoo, me and my girlfriend, and the lady, like, we just overhear the conversation to the daughter, and she's like, yeah, this is a rhinoceros. It's one of the last dinosaurs out there. I'm like, what?
And look at the crowd and see how they react, right?
And I'm like, what are you telling your daughter? What? Like,
if nobody's laughing in the crowd, we're in serious business.
Yeah, me and Christy are just like kind of walking, and like, did we hear that right? That's not that was a joke, right?
Maybe they're trying to get a reaction and then they didn't get it.
I was like, oh no.
But the problem I have also was some of that kind of big game hunting, not all of it, but some of it where they have them really like in small confined areas where it's not really hunting. It's almost like you have them in a
shooting
pen,
fish in a barrel,
a lion in a pen, and like, I'm like, what? That's not.
No,
that's wrong.
Hey man, if that animal can kill you, that's part of the challenge.
Yeah,
like if you're gonna kill you. Yeah, survive.
Give him a chance.
Yeah, exactly. That's
just like high-powered rifles from helicopters. I mean, I know some guys do that for the population control stuff, but
I know that there's the wolves and the coyotes and stuff like that that are needed for certain situations. I get it, but the sport side of it, and I think there's
always exceptions to the vast majority of what hunting's about.
That's life. There's exceptions to a lot of the stuff.
Every big
that's
population of anything, right?
Yeah, and so it's just one of those situations. And I think what comes down to is the people hear the sport side of it, and
they're just doing it for fun only,
and they take a negative. And it's like how can you have fun killing? Well,
taking a life.
You don't understand the background that's going on. And again, I'm not a hunter. I'm not someone who gets it, but I understand that there's more to it than just killing that elk or that moose or that deer.
Do you think? What do you think of the person, the hunter, that went through all that trouble, sometimes days hunting, stalking. Finally catch something. They kill it. They haul it out. They get it into their fridge. They eat it. Right. You cannot have some kind of reverence for what you want to do to get that.
Yeah.
Like it meant something, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to the guy like, I'll have a Big Mac, a number 4 Big Mac, and no thought whatsoever.
And I'm going to type on Twitter that, this problem, this guy who hunted,
Didn't think twice about the hamburger you ordered, like where it came from.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of mind, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It's just, So, I mean, SHOT Show, hunting, everything. Yeah, that's how it goes with this show. But you talked a little bit about Oregon and how you got up there with the real gun talks and everything like that. I just want to know, because I didn't make it out there to Oregon, what was some of the cool things that, because we're seeing this now populate more and more. We had a big event happen in October. More fields are getting behind this idea of events that bring people in, that draw people in. And so it's a great way to introduce the sport to new players, new people, and also just to kind of grow the community. How did it feel up there in Oregon? What was I know the
cold.
I know the big joke is you couldn't pump gas, and I even saw on our friend James's post that it felt good to be back in California where he could pump gas. I saw his post. But
continuing
overall,
the joke.
Overall, like the atmosphere with the community there, the people playing, all the stuff.
Well, Terry's done
way.
this. It's called his Oregon Indoor Airsoft Winter Fest. He's been doing it for I think about 7-8 years. Something like that. And it was cold. It was snowing. I don't know. He gets about 500 people or so.
Nice.
Probably wasn't as high as a turnout as in the past because of the weather. I know he was thinking or contemplating, like, we should do this some other time of year, but how can he call it Winter Fest, Winter Expo? So he's trying to come up with some other ideas to have events of this type, but with, better weather. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens. But he's got a history with, he people don't realize, I'm sure a lot of the event organizers, fields or whatnot, what it takes to put on an event, time, effort, money, stress, headaches, just for one day. And I would say in most cases, lose money.
Yeah.
Because you're hopefully trying to make an investment to put a spotlight on your business or location for future business. And I know Terry's probably spent a crap load of money from getting people out there, paying for their food, whatnot.
Yeah.
So he puts his heart and soul in it, and props to him. So funny though, there were probably more Californians up there than anything else.
It did seem like when I saw a lot of the posts, we saw a lot of people kind of moving up there to go play. And
what was kind of cool was that the fact that it went all the way up. A lot of these guys, these teams drove up there.
I saw some people posting that they're making that drive up there.
Props to them for that. I mean, that's a commitment. I took the easy way out. I flew, but
from us, it's about a 16-hour drive.
That's about
roughly.
What they were saying.
Yeah, and so that's definitely because we actually for one of the pet convention things that we were gonna be out in Portland, so we were like thinking, oh, maybe we'll drive because all the gear we had to take. There's no way to make that drive in a day and make it all like
some sections where you're going.
Yeah,
in California.
And so we're like, you know what? We're just gonna fly. We're gonna pay the extra to take all the gear that we need, and we had to kind of narrow gear down so that it was able to get on the plane. But it's still one of those situations. That drive, I guess if you're going with enough people, you can kind of rotate around and take that. But even then, sitting in the car for 16 hours, can definitely take a toll.
Sitting in the car
on
with anybody that, even if you like them,
can be tough. Yeah,
because there's stops. There's
that's always that test for friendship and test for like relationships is the road trip. And if how you survive the road trip kind of thing.
I would do bad.
Yeah. Yeah, you've offered to drive back from Vegas. I'm like, nah, I'm fine. It's cool. I'll be okay. Yeah.
Good decision.
Good choice. Yeah, I know. But that's good. It sounded like it was a good event and everything. I saw that they did kind of like a speedQB tournament thing on the next day.
Yeah, so like Saturday, all the vendors and displays were out, and they were doing some raffles and whatnot. And then Sunday, the vendors had like some shooting contests under the tent, and then the team showed up on the field to play.
Okay.
And it was pretty interesting. I think they had maybe about 40 players, And up there, they probably have maybe a speedQB style teams. They probably have about six, something like that. Yeah. Someone going to be coming down here as well
for the next
and
event,
have come down here.
Yeah, or we got Streamline. I know made the travel twice.
I know, some of the staff members are coming down. Cody, I think Cody for sure. I'm not sure who else.
He's down here on the 23rd, next weekend. Yeah,
they're coming down like Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, we've got.
So he's going to be here for I told him about the CQB class, so he's excited to.
Cool, he's coming down for that.
We'll have some of the Navy SEALs kick your ass.
I know he's coming down for that. I know Russian's got his event going on that day, and then we have the Zero Dark event in the evening. So it's a full day of airsoft.
So maybe you can talk to him and
Cody about coming out. Yeah,
just don't let him drink. Yeah, he gets.
Yeah, we know from Vegas.
He was at it again.
Oh, geez.
He was at it again.
Yeah. I mean, at least he was close to home in that situation. So.
Wow.
But as far as what I want to get to is with Airsoft Expo, we have a lot of airsoft celebrities, personalities, influencers, stuff like that. We have a lot of teams that have their social thing, and what I'm getting at is the problems we're starting to see in airsoft and in general because of a couple of situations, but the egos that come from the field, and I think people stepping away from the idea of it's just there to have fun, and it's more of like, oh, I've got to get this image, I've got to get this picture, I've got to get this video, I've got to call somebody out for cheating, I got to do this because it makes me look better. And I'm more along the lines as one of those situations where I was listening to a Cracked podcast about the loneliness epidemic that we're kind of going into and how we've created it with delivery services, Uber kind of things. We all control everything by an app. We're all on our phones.
Make it easy to isolate yourself.
Yeah, and most people don't put themselves in awkward positions anymore because and what they had in the conversation, which I really enjoyed.
They're not truly socializing.
Yeah, because
face to face.
Let's say like you go to get your a service done. Like, I go to Oil Can Henry's, well, now that it's Valvoline, like, you have a couple quick conversations, but they do your work, and you stay in your car, and then you go, where, like, sometimes you, like, talking to a mechanic, I don't know how some of these people know how to talk to a mechanic nowadays.
You know, it's funny they say that about big cities like L.A. and New York, and I've seen this, too, especially in L.A., is you could be in a big city, but be very lonely.
Yeah.
Like, you could literally be, like, what was that? There was a scene... Remember that it was a Tom Cruise, Jamie Foxx movie, and I own this darn thing. I can't remember the name of it. Where he's a hitman.
Collateral Damage.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So you remember that movie?
Is it Collateral or Collateral Damage? Something like that.
Collateral. Yeah. Collateral.
Yeah. Okay.
So you remember that movie, right?
Yeah.
So there was I think a line or two where he was talking about, he was in the back of the cab, and they're making small talk.
I remember that scene. Yeah,
I don't really like this town. He says there's so many X amount of people and so disconnected.
Yeah.
And he says, did you hear about the guy who died on the subway? And he was on there for like a week or days, whatever. And nobody even paid any attention to him.
Yeah.
He was like on the subway for days, traveling around town.
Yeah.
Nobody even gave a shit.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those situations that you have, like you kind of fear when you get old, is that like you're gonna die.
You'll be forgotten.
Yeah, you'll be forgotten, and you'll be left.
Nobody's
in your house.
Gonna care whether you're there or not.
Your body could be sitting there, and we have it happen all the time. Like, and so I actually worked at an old folks' home for 3 years. I was doing their general maintenance for them, and there was a couple situations that ended up like 4 days later we start smelling a smell.
That's so sad.
And we didn't realize, and it's very sad. And that was one of the hard things working there because I got really close with people. I'd go in and like, oh, you got a problem with your faucet? Cool. Hey, here's a cookie. I'm like, cool. I love it.
They just want to talk.
That's all. And so I loved, like, and I'd get in trouble because I'd sit in their rooms talking with them. And I'm like, crap, I got to go do this.
There's such a wealth of knowledge there, too.
Yeah.
It's like,
and so the conversation, but it was hard because I'd go in and then I'd come back on the weekend and someone wasn't there anymore. And you're like, oh, crap. And then and then it happened once and then it happened. And then like, oh, this is a kind of situation.
Yeah.
And so it can be very depressing. But I also saw the other side of that with the people because you're in this community that you get to socialize. And so I'd stay on Thursday nights and I'd call bingo with them. And so it was funny because I would get hit on because I was the young, and my girlfriend's like, well, if they have money. She's like, I'll pimp you out. I'm like, what the hell?
Get a sugar granny?
Yeah. exactly.
Sugar granny.
And I'd stay on Monday nights and for the Monday Night Football. I'm not a football person, but I'd hang out with the guys and like we'd order wings, and just hang out, and it was a fun time. And I can see that social, but I see that with airsoft where my previous job, I'd sit in a studio, I'd work alone, I'd edit a video, and I'd be done, and I'd go home, and that's all my interaction.
It is? I think a lot of it is technology and efficiency. So what happens is the technology and efficiency improves, there's less need for people, less time needed to be spent wherever you're at. And so if you don't need anybody, then even for various reasons, I'll use McDonald's and Chase Bank as examples. They have kiosks.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to talk to a teller or you pick up your food, but you don't have to have an order.
Yeah. I honestly
or DoorDash. I do that all the time. I get food order all the time.
I use the ATM all the time to process checks, everything, and go right there. And I don't go to my bank teller. And when I rarely go into the bank and I can have a conversation because all the bank tellers know me because we have a conversation. I treat them as human beings, but it's very funny because there's times where I get a new teller and they don't know how to interact with you. And they're like, I'm like,
they should. I know they train them. They train them to start the conversation.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, and then I go, man, do I talk too much? And do I and then I'm like, wait, no, because that's that human connection that you want to have with people.
Why are we having this dialogue in your head?
Yeah. So, but it is that thing.
But I'm not because of society or being pushed in that direction, but my personality, even when I was a kid, before this, social media and whatnot, I've always been maybe reserved. Meaning, I have no problem saying hi to somebody first, but a lot of times I'm not the first one. Yeah. And it's not because I don't want to or I'm being mean. It's not part of my DNA all the time. Sometimes I will.
My parents put me in awkward positions. Like, hey, you want that? Go ask them. And so I'm like, crap, I'm a little 6-year-old that wants this, and then they're like, because it created that social, here you go. And that's the one thing, because getting back to last night, Wednesday night's always my fun night to play airsoft.
Oh, it's Thursday,
Yeah, today's Thursday, and so I have friends that are usual regulars on Wednesday that I get to play with, and I've made great connections with people here at the field that I probably would have never met these people at any other situation. But we have that communal kind of situation. But what I notice is that community, if you're not on the field, goes away, and you're on social media, and the ego.
Well, and it's like everything in this day and age. It's one thing face to face, completely different persona and attitude when there's nobody in front of you.
Yeah, but what's so funny is I'll see that person the next week playing, and I go, dude, what the hell's your problem? And he goes, oh, dude, it was just the internet. I'm like, no.
I know. So you actually said it. It's just the internet.
And
it doesn't matter.
It's the best part, because we have players all the time who will talk shit on us all the time, and I'm like, if you don't like playing here, why are you here? And they're like, well, I mean, I'm like, why are you because
what would they say?
Well, we've got the hashtag Tac City that goes around. We know that, and so, but they'll use hashtags or they'll talk crap on.
But when you ask
them,
well, what are you doing? They say,
they kind of just brush it off. They just it's just I'm just being with friends, or it's just online. I'm like,
this is what we do.
You realize that everybody who is following you social media wise that you play with here, sees that, and there's people. I'm like, dude, do you not have
Yeah, well, they're just stupid kids.
I get that. I totally get that, but it's that.
It's okay. Here's a. It's so funny because I had those monthly meetings with my business group, and we had a speaker that was talking about trends and whatnot. Yeah. And he says, all these speakers and surveys when they're all about the millennials, right? And he says, who gives a fuck about millennials? Because at 20 years old, you don't know what the hell you're doing. Meaning, these millennials at 20 are going to be completely different at 30. Mm-hmm. They're not going to think the same way they think right now, right? And he says all these trends, the only generation that we can actually trend right now that has gone from 20 to 60 is the baby boomers.
Yeah.
So even I'm Generation X, we haven't got to that point yet, so they can't track us the whole way through.
Yeah.
Meaning, he was showing stats on baby boomers. So I could be off on the numbers, but something like they they graduate college at this age. They get married at this age. They have their first kid at this age. They buy their first house at this age. They buy their first rental income property at this age. They retire. I mean, we can track it.
Yeah.
We have a state where millennials, you can't track what they're going to be spending like at 60 because, again, you're stupid ass kids at 20. You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a guy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. Agree with you.
I'll give you another thing that blow your mind. Again, this is just this guy's opinion based on what his research says.
Yes.
Right. And I liked him because he said he used to be a stockbroker and they used to follow like the indexes and blah blah blah. So that's a bunch of bullshit. Those aren't indicators that matter.
Yeah.
Right. He was giving stuff like, you look at trucking companies as far as how are they doing. If they're not trucking stuff from or to somewhere, something's wrong. Pallet companies, if people aren't buying pallets, product isn't moving.
Yeah.
For a reason. Packaging, people that make packaging, if they're not booming, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
As far as economy. And he was saying that we're talking about different countries and what countries will be emerging. He says, don't quote me on when because I have no fucking clue when. Nobody does. But at one point, they will go that direction.
Yeah.
We don't know how soon or how long.
Yeah.
Okay, but he says just because one guy's asking, so when do you think this is going to happen? He's like, yeah, if I knew, right?
I'd be a billionaire. Yeah,
Thank you for being honest, right?
Yeah.
But he said Mexico.
Yeah.
He says Mexico will be an economic juggernaut at one point. And one of the factors, he will mention a few of them, this is the one that caught my mind. He says the vast majority of the population are young males. He says, like in the 20s, whatever, said they're a bunch of dumbasses at 20, don't know what the fuck they're doing, right? And then at some point they're going to mature and get their shit together.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean,
meaning like you've hit rock bottom. The only way you can go is up.
Yeah, and then that's.
So he was saying they're going to be an economic juggernaut.
That's a thing that we can just tell by human beings and how we react and how we are and how society pushes us is that we know eventually if you have a workforce of all these kids that are going to grow up, they're going to be something. They're going to do something. And so
if you're trying to forecast, it's tough.
Yeah.
Unless you're just marketing towards 20-year-olds or whatever on their buying habits right now, right?
Great.
Fine.
And then
that's even hard because again,
that changes so quickly.
They don't even know what they want.
Yeah. And so I mean that's a whole nother thing to get like topic and stuff. Yeah. Because honestly, like how many hobbies I've gone through, how many trends I've gone through, how much different like stuff.
How much different were you from 20 to 30?
Yeah. I mean, I'll put this out there because I was the coolest kid in middle school. Okay. Coolest kid. I say that sarcastically because I look back and I go, wow, I was really cool. I
got so many things about it, I guess.
This is what I wore all the time. I had yellow Dickies, orange Dickies, blue Dickies, and red Dickies.
Look at me.
Okay, look at me. And to top it off,
wow.
No, that wasn't the.
Didn't your parents love you?
Oh, they loved me. They went and hunted all down those pants and helped me. They would let me express. I had matching Hawaiian shirts to go with every single one of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that was.
And you're still gonna stick with your statement. You're the coolest kid.
Yeah, I was the coolest kid, Sonny.
I mean, it's like train wrecks, like car wrecks. Yeah. Like people are looking for different reasons.
And I mean, now I'm like, now I look at myself and I'm like, I'm in like more urban tactical, is what my girlfriend likes to call it. I definitely am wearing more Sadhu clothing, but I
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you but it is, from all of us. Thank you.
I mean, there's one of those. We don't know, like at what junior high to high school, and how I trended there, and how I changed from college to that. The life experiences, and every single person's going to be different going forward. But what I'm trying to get to is where I appreciate this place and this sport because it actually creates a community that I can physically see people and I can physically have interactions with people.
Most interactions now are not face to face.
Yeah, and I accidentally shot somebody yesterday too close, and I'm like, dude, I am so sorry. I got apologetic. He goes, dude, we're cool. Fist bump. We were able, but you accidentally shoot someone too close on Instagram. They blow up on you. We have these Twitter wars. We have what we were talking about earlier.
Both sides just go out like, what the? But I guess what I don't want to say appealing. What makes it puts a spotlight on it is those two are going at it, but everybody and their mother is like enjoying it.
Yeah.
And they'll chime in just to add more fuel to the fire. Probably don't mean what they're saying, but they just want to see how the reaction.
They want to see the world burn.
Everybody wants to see a reaction.
Yeah.
But see, in the real world, face to face, they're not sure how they want. They don't want to experiment with reactions.
Yeah. And so, like,
and if you do, you're gonna get punched in the fucking face.
Well, I mean, one of those things that I really, and because they were talking about this in this podcast, is one of the big things that has lost is churches, because a lot of people go and that's their social interaction. And the people from the church you meet, you get jobs, and I'm not a religious person at all. The whole organization seems very corrupt to me and stuff like that. I'm just not believing in that. I believe in something bigger than me, but to say I need to go to something every week, it doesn't make sense to me. But I appreciate what they were explaining, in that, there's the cookouts, there's the camps, there's the things.
It's about the congregation. It's about what you're supporting each other by just being a community.
Yeah,
you're
and
forming your own community where you have each other's back is kind of what the whole make each other stronger.
What they're talking about now is how do we find that thing that fills that void for people, because we are sitting on a computer typing in, or on our phones or something, and I got away from video games because I wanted to come in and actually run around, because I sat on a computer all day. That was the reason to get me here.
It's not the same.
And it was one of those situations where I go, okay, I knew absolutely nobody coming in. I came by myself. I didn't bring a friend. Nobody who I was hanging out with at the time wanted to come and get shot with BBs. Like they're like, you're an idiot. You're crazy.
If
you're
you
dumb.
pitch it that way, I can see why.
I didn't know what I was getting into. I just saw some cool videos from like Jet Desert Fox, and I'm like, this looks cool. He's running around in these cool things. Like,
probably don't think it looks cool now.
I still appreciate what he does, and that's one of those things, because I know from the perspective of being the outsider looking in, there will be haters, there will be people who don't appreciate what he. The amount of effort that goes into putting stuff out. I see Airsoftology running around at SHOT Show, filming everything he can because he needs the content to put up. Because that's his livelihood. That's his job. That's his life.
All those guys.
And so I appreciate the hustle. And I can yes, they might not have the best rep on fields. They might not have the best ego sometimes, because that's what we're talking about. But at the same time, I appreciate what they're doing, because what they have done is shined a light on this sport and's grown it for us. And because of those people, Novrich, Desert Fox, Airsoftology.
Well, I'll give you some insight on that. So last night, I was invited to a meeting at KWA. And I'm not going to mention who was there, but there was one, two, three.
Influencers?
There was about 8 of us. Not necessarily. Just different, from field owners, manufacturers, store owners, some influencers. Okay, whatever. And I'm trying to not go into too much detail. So, KWA wanted to put a spotlight on competition, and they felt competition needed storylines like. They were kind of giving the like say for like WWE wrestling. Yeah. Good guys, bad guys. People want to be involved because there's storylines, right? He said they weren't talking about necessarily manufacturing storylines, but we need to. That's what's going to draw people to the sport. And so my point was, as opposed to our classic influencers, and I didn't mention any names, but influencers, instead of like posing with people, showing gear, going to all these events, shaking hands, signing autographs, and just posting a lot of shit, it's the competitors in our sport, whether it's 3 Gun, speedQB, whatever it may be. That's where you're going to get, they're going to follow the athletes, the competitors, more so than the ones that are just like, and much like paintball, that's how it came out of the woods, where people start following the names in the front and the back of their jerseys, and then the storylines of these teams don't get along. Oh, I want to watch that. Yeah. Or this team's so good. What kind of guns do they shoot? Yeah. Who are they sponsored by? That's where you're going to get more influence. Yeah. Well, more pushing than the needle.
You look at how video games have gone. You've got jerseys now for the esports.
Well, they were bringing that. They were bringing up some names. I had no idea who these guys are. These multimillionaire guys who were just players from. There's a special guy from Call of Duty. I don't know. They're mentioning names and like some of the guys in the room. Oh yeah, I remember. $1 million. These guys are making millions of dollars playing video games.
Yeah, and I mean, but it goes back to again. We want to see the world burn. We want to see the drama. We want to see
like watching a car wreck, right?
I hate that aspect of because I understand why it's there. I get why it's there. You always think the grass is greener on the other side. You always
guess
want
what? Somebody's got to mow it.
Yeah, and so. I mean, I look at like where these kids, like we see the guys like Ninja from and Tfue, and they want to create this drama between these Fortnite players that he has more followers, he has this or that, and they both are going. We appreciate each other. We both there's no drama. They're both and they've made, but they still people want to go. But there's drama there.
Those could easily be just two bots.
Yeah. I mean that's really? The thing, and so it's one of those.
Wouldn't that be funny if some of these guys that influencers or whatever realize that they're actually not real people? They're just machines.
They're just
algorithms.
Machines. They're just I mean, but. Well, I think
how foolish would they be?
I think there's an episode of Black Mirror that's something like that. Like Black Mirror is a really good
Kiana or whatever.
Yeah, something. Yeah. But it gets down to I get what they're trying to do. I'm not a big fan of creating this. I would like it more natural to happen.
Well, they were agreeing with that, but I can see where they're going with it. But you can't force it.
No, but I think you need to create the competition and blow up and let the competition create the drama, not create the drama before the competition.
What it is the more competitions and the more teams competing, you're going to get it.
Yeah.
Just sheer numbers, you're going to get it.
I love talking with all these local fields and all these local teams and stuff like that and understanding what they're getting and the big picture that they have. And the bigger, and I go, you know what, honestly, I think speedQB is dead in 2 years, and someone else comes and with money and actually makes a legit thing. That's my honest to God
I think
thought.
Well, it could
because what this needs to happen for
it's the platforms to something next.
Yeah, they're the people who have opened the doors for us. But I honestly think someone's going to come in with the right amount of funding and go, here's what a legit event is like, and it's going to change the game because that's what happened with paintball, and that's what happened with all the sports. Is great, you have these small little cliques, but they don't grow till they're funded.
Here's another story example. Because at the meeting, somebody brought up the Super Bowl about something about the event of Super Bowl, and I said,
wasn't there multiple football leagues before the National Football League actually became a thing?
It was like I forget what it was, but basically they had a national championship.
Yeah.
National Champion Football League or whatever. But this first Super Bowl, I want to say that was 60. I can't be wrong. I don't know. It was in the 60s, right?
Yeah.
Green Bay Packers. But they played in the Coliseum, LA Coliseum. And my uncle was telling me this. He says, do you know that it did not sell out and that they were giving away tickets?
Yeah.
And he actually bought a ticket, I think it was like for $10.
Yeah.
And the place was half empty. Because nobody knew.
That's the thing.
All those guys, even up to that point, maybe even later, that they had a regular job when they weren't playing football.
Yeah.
Because that was what paying the bills. The football was like on the side.
Yeah.
But nobody knew what it would grow into.
You know who's really good at
because the storylines
is Red Bull. If you watch their YouTube channels and stuff, and I actually have someone who works at Red Bull, family member that works at Red Bull, doing a lot. But the mountain bike community was not a thing that you got broadcast on NBC.
How do you broadcast that?
Because that's because of Red Bull and these guys going, hey, no, this is a legit competition. Have you heard of the Derby run in Australia? It's this coolest looking thing, and the only reason I know about it is because of Red Bull. They're two people in a little tiny dinghy boat. It's a dinghy derby or something. I forget the exact name, but they're hauling ass through creeks that are this wide, and one guy's hanging out the boat, getting the weight to shift. And they're coming this close to trees and stumps coming out.
Wait. They're in water?
They're in water.
Okay. Right.
And they're in a motorcycle helmet and there's a crash pad in the front of the boat. And they're jumping around and they're flying and it looks so cool. And then I see there's single speed bike tracks that they built that are just figure eights and it's about speed. And I go, who in their right mind makes this a competition? And then I go, oh no, there's the passion for it. There's the people out there who want to see. And then last night, History Channel, I'm watching Night Fight. And it is a new show that now the organization's been around for a long time doing this, but they're in full medieval armor.
I've seen that
beating
before.
the shit out of each other.
Okay, so that.
And now it's a national thing because it's grown.
Actually, that's been around.
It has been. No, it has been.
That's been around since the 80s.
But
at least that I know of.
Yeah.
I know a guy who did that.
No, I know. It's been around for a long time.
I said, was that near the Renaissance Fair? They would do it at the Renaissance Fair, but they do other places too.
Yeah, and
he was showing. He got in his car and showed me one of his weapons. Like it's like. Fuck, this thing is heavy, and it all padded up. I was like, I don't care if that's got a blade or not. That's gonna beat the shit out of someone.
Yeah, and so me and my dad were watching it last night, and we're like, "Whoa, crap!" And my dad's like, "This is more violent than UFC." I'm like,
bruises, broken arms.
The guy
legs.
walked away with 2 broken fingers, and like he still had.
Now he was telling me, I don't know about the show, but they were telling me they literally have a black knight and a white knight, and you're fighting for the maid of honor.
Oh, really? So they get into the storyline,
but they would beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah, well, so they ended up going. It was like 6 guys get into a ring. Full melee against whoever you want.
I've seen that. I've seen that in MMA.
Nuts.
In Europe, they do that.
Yeah,
and they have like 10 on 10.
Yeah,
and then like 6 reps.
It's nuts. And then they basically pick 4 winners. Then they split them into 2 teams. Those 2 teams then go at it. They were just beating each other. Now they're on a team. They go at it. The winner of that, the teams, then go to the final round.
Brutal.
And they were just teammates. Now they beat each other up. And it's
I can't imagine what your body is looking like, or what you're allowed to wear under that.
The second heat. That they had, the guy was so beat he threw up in his mask, and you're just like, oh, and then all of a sudden he has to fight another round because of it was a tie, and I'm like,
it's like an Iron Man kind of thing. Yeah.
No, that's just but oh man, it just they're clobbering each other.
It gets you thinking about what it was like to actually fight in medieval battles where it's like waves of people.
What I'm getting at though is
like
that
Braveheart or something.
These guys were beating each other for years and just in front of a crowd at a Renaissance fair, maybe not for any TV glory or anything like that. But now I look at it and go, it's grown into something, and I can see where
by the time it gets on TV, it's been around a while.
Yeah, and so it's
like for instance, the axe throwing is a big thing.
Yeah,
now. Yeah.
in an infancy of what speedQB and what speedball airsoft style of play is,
right.
And there's going to be a bunch of different versions that keep going forward with this. But it's one of those things. I'm like, we're getting to that point.
I'm not sure if I totally agree with your statement. I mean, I'm not saying that. I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
It could be under the same name. It could be morphed into something else. It might be the platform that something else gets launched, whatever. But I do know that style, or that, to me, it's not necessarily. And I've mentioned this before. It's not necessarily the size of the field or the type of bunkers. It's about the gear, the look of the players. They have their own unique gear and style and look.
Yeah.
That's appealing to everybody. And the fact that because it's here, but it's still blowing up at a rate where I think 2 years is. It might die down eventually, but I don't think 2 years is. I think it's too soon. Meaning. It's talking to field villagers across the country. It just got here. We want in. They're clamoring for it.
But what I'm going at more is that the name might still be around, but the actual organized event and organized thing that actually takes
a direct
off,
competitor to speedQB.
Yeah, I think it's going to surpass it, and because
especially if the guys at speedQB if they're too slow in growing, or they're too rigid on opening the branding.
Here's a tough part.
And they're going to force the wrong person to, you know what, fuck that, I'm going to do my own.
Here's a tough part about any homegrown kind of situation. The funding's not there unless you know the right people. And so what happens is if these guys they don't have $1 million to drop into it, someone out there has $1 million and sees the value in this. Yeah. And they're going to go, okay, I know a production company. I know a field. I could build this. I can do. And here's the check. And so what's so tough, and I hate that this is the situation, but
someone can skip all the steps and just write a check.
Exactly. They're going to see all the footwork that all of us have done.
It's just like Shark Tank, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you're presenting a product going, so why do I need you? Why can't I just do the same thing?
Exactly.
I'll just write a check and cut out the middleman.
There are plenty of people out there in this sport that has the money to do it.
If they see the value in writing the check.
Exactly. And so that's going to come, and hopefully the guys...
But so part of that is depending how big of a check and how much of a jump ahead do they make.
Yeah.
Right? if it needs to be a big enough jump to separate them. Otherwise, the established brand name, as long as it's still in good standing, is still going to be the major player. And then it would take time for that new player, if they have the same standards, to just totally blow them away.
Here's where I look at the example is when we talked about Battle Arena. Battle Arena came in, a couple years into this already for themselves. But they came to the United States and they right away grabbed 5 fields and said, hey, we've got this idea. And we're going to put it in, and great, we're going to support it in this way. Someone can do that. Someone can go a
Different
bigger
name
scale.
And just boom.
Yeah.
You don't have rights on the style of play.
No. You can't copyright that. Yeah.
The name.
Yeah.
You can't. Okay, big deal.
Honestly, having rules, here's what needs to happen with Battle Arena, same situation, is that you need to have an organizer at every event that is actually official.
Yeah, I get it.
And so if you had a speed, because here's
totally
the situation that happens with speedQB is, great, the guys over at SS is doing their event. We have ours. The guys up at
Is it 100%
speedQB? It's not, because every field is different regulation. Every situation.
And then you have to define what your regulations are.
Exactly. And
what are non-negotiable and what are negotiable.
Because what needs to happen for anything, it needs to be set on a level that everyone can go,
they can duplicate it.
Exactly.
Here's the blueprint.
And
boom.
So I think we've had the discussion. What made Speedball blow up is that the air bunkers. The air bunkers became a regulated size, a regulated field that you can go, boom, here's your field. Doesn't matter. You're going to use all these bunkers. Doesn't matter your layout, but these are the regulated bunkers.
For the most part, yes and no. It was more about the leagues that said, this is the league that you want to compete in, and we say that it's this size and this, and then people just, okay, boom. We need some organization or governing body to tell us that this is standard, do this.
Yeah. So I want to see this sport grow. I have a lot of passion.
Let's put it this way: most of them
it.
is not growing the sport.
No, it's
and as much of them
it's
kick and scream about speedQB. Well, you know what? You're not pushing the needle.
No,
whether you like it or not, speedQB is helping the Milsom guys.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, there's a lot of things. And I mean,
what you need though is, we talk about Battle Arena, and I think that's where the growth is at, finding that in between.
Yep. And
doing it right.
Yeah. Competition, speed.
I think they shouldn't change the scenario every year.
No. I think you regulate it to the same thing.
Because everybody likes a scenario, we'll ride that out a little longer.
Yeah.
So because you didn't have that much exposure. If we had this for a year, the same scenario, we'll have 16 teams.
Yeah.
And you have, instead of 5 fields, you'll have 10 fields.
Yep.
Now we got the scenario that once the scenario gets kind of dated, move on to another one.
Change it.
Right, but it works.
Adapt it, yeah.
And now you're just like, okay, because how do you know the next scenario is going to be better?
Yeah. You don't.
And this one does.
How do you practice for it? How do you get teams that get better about, because that's
because think about it right now, right? I forget when's the World Championship? It was like March or this month.
I think it's next month. I think that's
so. Let's say March.
Month.
Okay,
yeah.
So that's 3 months already gone.
Yeah.
So when are you going to announce the next scenario?
Yeah. Are we going to wait till October again and then December and then
better not? Meaning they should already be throwing out the new scenario, even if the other one hasn't gone through yet.
Yeah. I mean, and so that's the tough part, because
unless they don't know, and they should have already known
it. Yeah, because that's what, as a team that wants to be legit and wants to be professional, they need something that they can practice. Sure. And going to different fields that have different stages and different things that aren't exactly to a scale or something, you can't practice, because
so with these scenarios, we're gonna keep doing the same one, whether they have a new one or not. We're gonna still do the gold bars.
Yeah, and so
it worked.
And
I liked it.
Maybe we just change it up to something else and go and call it something else, and then go with our own kind of version of it. But yeah,
piss off the Russians.
Yeah. Thank you for the idea, and we're gonna keep running, because you changed your concept. We're gonna stick with it. But yeah, so we've got a meeting to get to, and so this is going to be the end of the episode. We do appreciate you guys if you guys have stayed till the very end. Again, you can follow us on Tac City Airsoft on all the social media platforms. It's at Tac City Airsoft. You can follow myself at Producer Derek. Leave a comment down below if we
let us know what topics you want to cover.
Yeah, topics, because we have a list of topics we're talking about, and you can see we didn't even get to everything we wanted to in today's show. Sonny was going to interview interview some questions that he had. We didn't even get to that part of it. Here we're kind of limited on time today, but guys, definitely subscribe to the channel, hit a like, ring the bell. I'm trying to think of all the other things you guys need to do on the stuff, but we want to hear from you guys. Reach out to us on all the social media platforms out there, and we are going to continue maybe offending you. We're going to continue talking about stuff that might not be related to airsoft, or we might just spin back around like we did in today's episode, right back to airsoft. We're going to have some great guests. I know we have a shooter coming out eventually. We're scheduling that eventually. So our next show, we should have a guest, I believe so. If not, it'd be the same back and forth conversation that we're having now on a lot of different topics.
Should have a Delta guy next show.
Delta guy, nice. But thank you guys for joining us here on Tac City Unfiltered Episode 3. We'll catch you guys next week.